Meet Dan.
Hi, I'm Dan. I have an undergraduate degree, a master's degree, 6 years experience in industry, and I threw it all away to make TikTok videos about running and cycling for a living.
With a combined TikTok and Instagram following of over 160,000, there's a lot of eyes and attention on Dan, and right now, it's all on social media.
But unlike my short-lived career in marketing, there is no clear blueprint to follow to make a living from TikTok videos, so we're learning on the job. And depending on your outlook on life, that can either be exhilarating or daunting because it means navigating through the unknown.
In this video, we'll show you step-by-step how to launch a newsletter that helps you build a more valuable business and gives you a line of communication to your audience that no platform can take away. And we're gonna show you how to do it for free. So let's start exploring how Dan can level up his business with a newsletter. Social media has been amazing for Dan, helping him reach a huge audience and grow his following quickly. But the social platforms control his access to that audience, while email provides him with direct access. Before we dive into how email can transform Dan's creator business, it's important to understand key differences between social media and email and how combining them can help level up his business. So what do I mean when I say email gives him direct access to his audience? Think of having followers on a social platform like renting a house. You may feel comfortable and at home, but ultimately you don't own it. One day, the landlord could decide it's time for you to leave, and you are powerless to stop it. With social media, the platforms are your landlords, and you can suddenly be cut off from your audience, which is crucial for your business to thrive. In contrast, with email, you have more control over the ability to reach the inbox of the majority of your subscribers. You can decide to move from one email platform to another, and it's not a problem as you can take your list of subscribers with you. On social media, it's not like you could take your Twitter followers over to YouTube with you. This is what it means to own your access. You decide how and when to communicate with your audience. This comes with a lot of benefits. For example, say you want to promote some of your products to your audience. Typically, that would involve someone leaving a social media platform or leaving their email in order to go check out what you're selling. But social media platforms may push down content that causes people to leave their platforms. And with email, the more someone clicks on links in your email, the more likely your emails continue to show up in the inbox. So for someone like Dan, he can more easily promote new offerings like one-on-one or group coaching, a paid newsletter that shares an even deeper dive on his training, or digital products like training plans and nutrition guides. Now, as exciting as it is to start something new, there is a common challenge that many creators face with newsletters. Dan might worry about getting overwhelmed with starting a newsletter due to lack of time. So before we begin creating a newsletter, it's important to understand how to make it work with his content plan, not against it. Dan is busy. He's running, writing, filming, editing, answering DMs, replying to comments. With everything he's juggling, when could he possibly find time to write a newsletter? And even if he did, how would he decide what to write about? Here's 2 ways he can make the newsletter a natural part of what he's already doing. First, Dan can leverage his newsletter to highlight and repurpose content that he's already creating. This not only gives his audience another opportunity to engage with valuable material, but also invites a different kind of interaction. While some people are comfortable sharing struggles in the comments, others may prefer the not so public format of replying to an email. Secondly, as a seasoned content creator, Dan understands that selecting better content ideas is one of the best ways to improve results without increasing workload. By simply asking a question to his email subscribers with something like, "What's one challenge you're facing in the world of running or cycling?" that'll help give Dan an influx of fresh ideas to try. Using a subject line like, "We want to dedicate our next newsletter to you," will really help boost engagement and response rates. And by putting this question in his automated welcome sequence, this email will keep getting sent to new subscribers automatically, meaning Dan now has a continuous stream of fresh ideas coming right to his inbox without lifting a finger. The simplicity of this approach is key. Dan can easily create newsletters much quicker than a typical video, giving him more information to guide his content strategy, making his newsletter a valuable, time-saving part of his overall content system. And yes, you can do this on social media as well, but those responses are limited to whose social media decides to share it to that day. But before we build Dan's newsletter, we need a strategy to turn his social followers into email subscribers so he can reach them in the first place. Creating a landing page or subscriber form is a nice way to start growing a list, but that alone won't achieve the fast growth needed for someone like Dan. With over 160,000 social media followers, the goal is to maximize the number of them moving from social media to his newsletter. To do this, we need a targeted approach, a digital resource that followers would be eager to exchange their email for. Dan can learn a lot from another running newsletter that's doing this. The Marathon Handbook has an impressive email list with over 156,000 subscribers, thanks in large part to a running challenge that they offer as a lead magnet. A lead magnet is simply something businesses share online that people can download in exchange for their email. So what exactly makes this lead magnet so effective? The Marathon Handbook offers training tips via email, and users can participate in the challenge as a community, sharing their times and progress. The reason this works so well is because of the genuine value combined with the sense of urgency created by the community event. This urgency motivates people to join right now so they can participate in the challenge. Dan can do something similar with his audience. So with the idea in place, the next step is to actually create a website or landing page where people can learn about the challenge and give their email to Dan. Typically, this would involve weeks or cost thousands with web developers. However, by using Kit's landing page builder, we can create one within minutes. Dan should follow these 3 best practices to get as many people to actually leave their email when they get to the landing page. 1, a compelling headline. The headline should immediately grab attention and clearly convey the value of the training tips. We want this to focus on the transformation users will achieve, not what they're literally receiving, because that goes in the subheading. Here we take out the fluff and spell out exactly what users will be receiving. A sneak preview to a free training plan helps out a lot, and to bring it home, we need to add a strong call to action. The call to action should stand out on the page and make the decision to click straightforward. Quick tip, if you're not sure what color to choose for your call to action button, red will almost always stand out. If you want a deeper dive into building landing pages, I've got a link in the description where I show you how to build one in 5 minutes. One final consideration, Dan may not always have this challenge going on, but he'll still want a way for followers to subscribe to his newsletter. His link in bio can help promote this, but to take this up a level, he can use the Kit Creator Profile, which is a mini website, as his link in bio page. Here, we've chosen one that includes a couple of pages, allowing Dan to showcase everything that he offers all in one place. Best of all, the Posts tab automatically updates with his latest public emails, giving followers a seamless way to discover Dan's latest and most valuable content. Keeping everything in one platform, Dan can create and manage these systems easily, efficiently, and effectively. Now that Dan is able to bring his social media audience to his newsletter, it's crucial to focus on how he's going to keep them engaged and subscribed. Most people joining Dan's newsletter have seen his face on social media, but this newsletter is new to them. If Dan wants subscribers to stick around and keep opening emails, the first email needs to have a strong impact. The easiest way to do that, a welcome sequence, which is a series of emails that automatically go out to every new subscriber. Welcome sequences are essential. 74.4% of subscribers expect a welcome email. This is Dan's chance to introduce himself, let his readers know what to expect from his newsletter, and deepen the relationship that he started on social media. But for many creators, building a welcome sequence can feel daunting. Dan might have questions like, how many emails should this sequence be? Will my audience find this valuable? Are my settings right? So here's a simple, effective welcome sequence Dan can start with to cover the essentials. We'll design an email sequence with 2 emails that are sent a couple days apart, building a connection with the reader. Email number 1, sent immediately, shares Dan's story, why he took on the challenge to start his business, his background, and his coaching philosophies. This creates an emotional connection that sets Dan apart from other fitness influencers. We'll finish this email with our idea from earlier in the video, asking readers to share what they're struggling with. Not only is this helping Dan gather new content ideas, but it also shows his audience that their input matters. They see that this newsletter is more than just updates. It's a place where they're heard and engaged, deepening that connection with Dan. Email number 2 is sent 2 days later. This email will repurpose repurpose some of Dan's most helpful and popular content. With this, he can easily monitor which video is getting the most clicks. And so with 2 sources of information informing him what to write more about, Dan won't be running out of ideas anytime soon. Now that the welcome email is set up, it's time to leverage another powerful feature that helps Dan grow faster by getting other creators to grow Dan's email list for him without even needing to post on social media. The Creator Network connects Dan with other creators who are serious about growing each other's businesses. With recommendations, other Kit creators can promote Dan's newsletter to their subscribers. If a creator adds Dan to their recommendations, every time they gain a new subscriber, Dan's newsletter might appear as a suggested newsletter for that new subscriber. As these creators grow, Dan's audience grows too. This raises an important question. How can Dan encourage other creators to recommend him? Upon joining the Creator Network, Dan sees a pop-up suggesting other creators he can recommend. We think the Intuitive Runner, Marathon Handbook, and Endurance Mindset would be a good fit for his audience. Kit will automatically email these creators to let them know Dan is recommending them. Dan can also reach out directly to those creators. By sharing his appreciation and offering a recommendation, Dan opens the door for these creators to consider recommending him in return. And this brings up another question. Are these recommended subscribers going to open and read Dan's emails, particularly since they're not as familiar with him as his social media followers are? Dan can see how these recommended subscribers are engaging by looking at the percentage of subscribers that are opening his email, known as the open rate, and out of the ones that open his email, how many of them are clicking on links inside of his email, known as the click-through rate. This data will help inform Dan if these recommended subscribers are engaging with his content. With a healthy sized email list and growing, Dan is now ready to start sending broadcasts, also known as newsletters. Newsletters are all about building rapport, connecting with your audience, and cultivating brand loyalty. And consistency is key to getting the best results. So here's Dan's checklist for writing a newsletter in 30 minutes or less. Step 1, choose a main topic. Dan starts by selecting a main topic or theme for this newsletter. Let's say he's gotten a couple replies from his automated welcome emails asking about nutrition plans. That can be the focus of this newsletter. Step 2, craft an engaging subject line. Dan creates a compelling subject line that grabs attention and entices his subscribers to open the email. He can also test 2 subject lines. Kit will test them with a small portion of his audience and then send out the winning subject line to the rest of his audience. Step 3, write a personal opening. The start of an email is a perfect opportunity for Dan to connect with his readers by sharing something personal, writing as if he's emailing a friend. We found this YouTube video where Dan shares a story about his nutrition mistakes from his first marathon.
For the first half of the race, when everything was going well and I was feeling good, I stuck to the nutrition plan pretty perfectly. But during that second half, especially when things started to get bad, I was just desperate. Taking on all that excess food, all that excess liquid in your belly whilst you're running did not do me well.
Starting the newsletter with a personal story like this reminds readers that this isn't an article written by some random business to promote themselves. It's a direct letter from Dan to his viewers. Step 4, create the main content. This is where the main value of Dan's email is written. He can take what he said in this video and then find 3 key takeaways from his story to help motivate and inspire his readers. The usual best practice is to keep it concise and to the point. Step 5, add a call to action. Here, Dan should include a clear call to action, whether it's replying to his email or watching his latest video or purchasing a product like a nutrition guide, which he can set up and sell right inside of Kit. The one thing to remember is to make sure the call to action stands out. If we're going to be using the same call to action in many emails, we can streamline this process using snippets. So it's as easy as this to create a call to action. Step 6, schedule or send. If everything looks good, Dan schedules his email to be sent at the optimal time for his audience. He can also click this simple setting to repurpose the email as a web post, which shows up nicely on his creator profile. Now that Dan is familiar with what it takes to create a newsletter, he can now decide how often to send them. He needs to ask himself, how many emails can I realistically send each week or month? Some creators creators send multiple newsletters per week, while others keep it at just one per month. Consistency is key. Sending your emails on the same days and times helps subscribers know when to expect them. So just a reminder, this entire newsletter and strategy that we created for Dan was done on our free newsletter plan. And you can get started on the newsletter plan with the top link in the description or clicking right up here. And if you're curious on what else Kit is able to do as your email first operating system, check out this deep dive that we did with Kyle. We will see you on the newsletter plan or in this deep dive video.